of our Dallas Cowboy football team. And this is all of us here today. Missing one, but we'll have him on the field. And I'm not joking. If he's not there early, he'll be there late. So we'll take him any game we can get him. We want him here early, but of course they're important. But we certainly, if we were dealing with an injury or we were dealing with a suspension, then we would use him. This is a marathon, and fresh legs, we'll use him late. We don't have any movement at all. And the same way we look at anything, we'll get ready for the Giants, and if he's not there at the Giants, and he comes in the next, or the next, or the next, or we'll use him for the playoffs.
Sounds like a good negotiating position if you're listening to most owners. And then you remember that this is Jerry Jones. Albeit 26 years ago, it was Emmitt Smith, who was the league leading rusher and a Super Bowl champion, that Jerry Jones played hardball with and made wait 2 games before Jerry Jones ultimately elected to pay him. And that was after the Dallas Cowboys started 0-2, and Jimmy Johnson came up in there breathing heavy and was just speechless, like, why? Because I need my running back, and you're messing with my team, and there's no reason for this. Except in this particular instance, I actually support Jerry Jones just a touch. Now, I want to be very, very clear, and I want to reiterate my same position that I've always had. I believe that Ezekiel Elliott should be one of the top 2 paid running backs in all of football. And if he were number 1, I got no problem with it. I got no problems with it. I got no problem with Ezekiel Elliott getting paid, and I have no problem with him getting paid sooner than later. I just don't think that he should be in the leveraged position everybody else thinks he should be in when it comes to squeezing Jerry Jones at this particular juncture. I don't mind the thought of Jerry Jones making him wait a month. I don't mind the thought of Jerry Jones taking chances and saying, okay, Dak Prescott, I'm trying to sign you. You just sit there asking for $40 million a year. Excuse me, let's see what you do against the Giants. Let's see what you do on the road against the Redskins. Let's see what you do against the Miami Dolphins. Hell, I might want to see what you do against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans on September 29th. I might want to see that before I give you this damn money. I don't mind that position from Jerry Jones. Because to me, both are plausible. In the case of Dak Prescott, you're going to get at least $30 million. But is he going to but Dak Prescott, I'm fixated. I have to get paid more than Carson Wentz. Well, Dak Prescott wasn't asked to do what Carson Wentz has been asked to do. Now, granted, Carson Wentz hasn't been to a playoff. Dak Prescott has been there twice. Carson Wentz wasn't on the squad, meaning in uniform, when Nick Foles led them to a Super Bowl title. He was injured. He comes back last year. Even though he was 11-2 as the start of the year before, last year was just 5-6. And even though everybody and their mother should know that Carson Wentz is better than Nick Foles, the fact of the matter is the best ability is availability first and foremost, which Carson Wentz didn't have at his disposal. So if you're Dak Prescott and you have been available and you did go to the playoffs and won 2 division titles, 2 of your first 3 years in the National Football League, I can understand why you are dogged about maintaining that position of not relenting by one stretch of the imagination and taking a penny less than Carson Wentz. But let's keep in mind, if you're Dak Prescott, you have not been asked to do what Carson Wentz was asked to do. From Jay Ajayi to Wendell Smallwood to Darren Sproles or anybody else, we know what the Philadelphia Eagles' success was predicated on. It was predicated on that quarterback throwing that damn football. Whether it be to Nelson Aguilar, whether it be to Alshon Jeffries, whether it be to Zach Ertz or anybody else, the Carson Wentz responsibilities far exceeded that of Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott primarily had Ezekiel Elliott to hand the ball off to. So if you're Jerry Jones, that's an excuse as to why you wouldn't pay Dak Prescott what you paid or what the Eagles have elected to play Carson Wentz. But to me, I understand it. It makes perfect sense to me. I'm just looking at some numbers here, and you're looking at the Eagles' leading rusher. Their leading rusher was Josh Adams. Forget the 511 yards. He had 120 carries. between Josh Adams, Wendell Smallwood, Corey Clement, all right, and Jay Ajayi, 4 different backs barely had as many carries as Ezekiel Elliott. So you understand how the Eagles utilize certain guys. All I'm saying to you is, if you're Jerry Jones and you don't want to pay Dak Prescott more than Carson Wentz, it's plausible to me. And then in the case of Ezekiel Elliott, well, damn it, you've been a knucklehead. You don't know how to act. You got suspended. You're getting called up to the commissioner's office. You body checking dudes at concerts and stuff. I mean, come on, I can't have that. And you know how it goes. Folks believe the more money you get, the more emboldened you get. Particularly when you're a kid. You're going to feel a bit emboldened. And Jerry Jones is going to question that. And I think that's the dilemma that you're looking at right now, and that's what you're working against. That's what you're having to deal with. And I think that's something that should be noted. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Again, you are listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I just think it's important to recognize that. I think Jerry Jones is sitting there. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's playing a dangerous game because he could get caught up in himself just a little bit and forget that the Super Bowl title is the focus here. The Dallas Cowboys is considered to be a team that's a legitimate Super Bowl contender with their best team in years. Their defense is stout. No doubt about it. Offensively, you got a quarterback. You got a number 1 wide receiver option in Amari Cooper. You've upgraded from Cole Beasley to Randall Cobb in the slot. And if you got Ezekiel Elliott, you should be able to handle your business in a lot of people's eyes. For me, I'm not so sure. I'm not as sold as some of you other folks are. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Again, you're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. When we come back, I'll get to your calls, but I'll also touch on Terrell Owens, Hall of Fame wide receiver, calling me out, me, little old me, because of something I said about Antonio Brown yesterday. I'll tell you why I was absolutely right. I'll tell you why T.O. is wrong. And a little bit more than that in a minute. So stick around, don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacids stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your